There we are. Welcome to our first year applicant information session.
I think I'm going to take over from here. I'm
Yep.
going to read about 9 slides, then Jagreet's going to read a few, and then we're going to hear from our students. So just want to make sure you're on the right spot. This is the first year applicant information session. My name is Chris Dito. I'm the executive director of M.E.T. It's truly like an honor to be speaking with all of you. I have been with the M.E.T program since 2018, and my job as the executive director is just to uplift students any way that I can. My area of specialization is I'm a career coach, so I help students kind of uplift their internship journey if they're wanting to get into research, the whole career search process. That's what I do, and really just try to reduce friction points for students wherever I can. I'm going to go over some other folks that are not on the call but are very much central to our team. Katie Duplessis is our program coordinator. She does all the operations and just like makes everything go for us. Shoykot Chaudhry is our faculty director. He teaches 2 classes, both for entering first year students as well as juniors. He is our resident expert on all things entrepreneurship. He is housed out of the Haas School of Business, and he also runs something called the Entrepreneurship Hub for Haas School of Business. Dawn Kramer on our team is our academic advisor, and she's also known as the Director of Strategic Initiatives. Anytime we're like starting another program or doing something new, Dawn is just like a wizard in terms of like getting all the program uplift together. So that is a little bit about Dawn, and I will go ahead and turn it over to Jagreet.
Hi, y'all. My name is Jagreet. I'm the admissions and marketing specialist for the UC Berkeley Management, Entrepreneurship, and Technology program. So I oversee a lot of the overall admissions process, student recruitment, outreach. We have a student ambassador program here at M.E.T, which involves a ton of outreach, social media calls, and all of that. So I oversee the ambassador program. And overall, my goal is really just to help demystify the admissions process for y'all so that you have a smooth time applying to M.E.T and you know all the component parts that you need to build a really strong application.
Okay, on to our next slide. So just so make sure everybody's aware, in the MET program, the Management, Entrepreneurship, and Technology program, you will earn 2 full degrees. One degree from the UC Berkeley School of Engineering, as well as the Haas School of Business. So making sure everybody understands that 2 degrees in 4 years. So with this dual degree program, our job is to accelerate visionary leaders through world-class education from both UC Berkeley's prestigious College of Engineering and the Haas School of Business. We empower students to transform and reshape the world of in sustainable and scalable ways. Basically, we're really just excited to work with all amazing students out there. As you know, the program is competitive. We have a lot of applicants, so we're going to kind of get into what it is that we're looking for. So, in terms of the different academic tracks that everybody can apply under, it's aerospace engineering plus business, bioengineering plus business, civil engineering plus business, electrical engineering, computer science plus business, industrial engineering operations research plus business, material science and engineering plus business, mechanical engineering plus business, and engineering undeclared plus business. Those are our academic tracks that are set for now.
Thanks so much. I'm actually going to drop into the chat for y'all the link to the undergraduate catalog that UC Berkeley offers. I would highly recommend looking up whatever track that you're interested in the undergraduate catalog so that you can get a sense of what kind of classes you'd be taking if you did end up going to UC Berkeley and doing an engineering major or joining M.E.T. So that link is in the chat.
Okay, a couple highlights. I'm going to start on the right side of the slide here. This is an at-a-glance look at our class of 2025. We graduated 50 students in the class of 25. The average starting salary for our graduates was $153,000. And of those graduates, 96% of them were placed. We had one student that is still considering options, and one student just didn't respond. Dang it, that's a bummer. But in any event, we know she's been traveling around, so I'm sure she'll get back to us. Then in terms of on the left-hand side of the page, we have many students that are going on and getting an advanced degree. So we have students that are getting degrees at Carnegie Mellon, at MIT, as well as some students carrying on with their degree here at UC Berkeley. Some of the types of companies that are hiring Berkeley MET students include Snowflake, Reddit, Citadel, American Express, Amazon, Apple, OpenAI, Google, Tesla, Databricks, JP Morgan Chase, Jane Street, you name it. basically wherever you want to work, we're eager to help you engage with those companies. Speaking of student engagement, we've got lots of different student clubs that our students are involved with on the top sheet of the page. Then in terms of doing research, we have something on campus called URAP. I believe we've got a little link to that, and that's how you find undergraduate research apprenticeship programs. We also have many students that are engaged in the national labs that we have here. We've got something called Auto Lab, as well as ours, which is the Office of Undergraduate Research and Scholarship. So we do encourage students to engage any way that they want to within the Berkeley ecosystem, whether that's internships, research, volunteerism, Golden Bear, advising, becoming an advisor, whatever it is that you want. We've got all different ways to engage here, and you'll hear more about that from our students in just a few minutes here.
Thanks so much, Chris. And I went ahead and dropped those links to UC Berkeley student organizations and UC Berkeley research opportunities in the chat. I also think this is a really great opportunity to shout out that despite the fact that students in the M.E.T program are earning 2 degrees in 4 years, we have a lot of M.E.T student representation in the clubs and organizations ecosystem at UC Berkeley, as well as across the different research opportunities that the university provides.
So I know when our students are talking, they're probably going to get into the different clubs and if they've done research and all that kind of good stuff. So we'll get into that in a minute. We have something in the MET program called our employer meet and greets. Those are boutique career fairs that are just for our MET community. Those were started back in 2018 when I arrived. We were just doing a bunch of talks, and our students were like, we want more than talks. We want to go ahead and do employer meet and greets that are just for our students. We're like, all right, well, let's do it. So here's a sample of our Airtable that we created with the types of companies that are coming. You can see we've got a lot of startups. We had the FBI, we had Glean, we had Instagram, we had Intel, Intuitive Surgical, IXL Learning, you name it. M37 was a hedge fund, Palantir, like lots of different companies. So we've gone from being sort of like a small sort of like kind of like side hustle to this past employer meet and greet. We had close to 42 companies that were at our meet and greet. And these are some pictures. We had just a full house of students we had 160 of our current populations that were there, and that we have currently 200 students in the program. One of the coolest things I have to say is that of the employers that showed up, many of them were alumni of this program. So they went full circle, graduated from M.E.T. Now they're working in industry, they have their own startup or whatever the case may be, and they came back. So it's a little bit like coming back to like homecoming, like we're so excited to be here vibes. So it was really fun. And I'll make sure Cindy and Patrick talk about that when they're up here in a minute. We also have something that we're really proud of called the Entrepreneurial Fellows Program that we started back in our first year was in 2000. And this is where we place students in startup internships, and they are funded through our program. Our M.E.T advisory board grants $6,000 per student to engage in an internship with a startup over the summer. All of those internships are sourced through either Techstars, Y Combinator, or Berkeley Skydeck. Here's just a sampling of the types of different companies that came. This is another Airtable where students can look and see like these are the companies that were here. We try to get local companies, but sometimes they're all over the world. And with that stipend of $6,000, you're able to do the internship with a startup at their headquarters. We do require that students doing the EFP program go into the office 2 days a week because our job is to make sure students are ready and prepared for the world of work. And nothing prepares you more than actually showing up every day. So yeah. So another fun fact is this past year we had for the first time ever our Capstone immersive, which is we took 20 students to New York City this past spring, and they engaged with companies on a lot of different levels. We had 5 different companies where we did projects with them where they said, here's a business problem that we have. We want your team of students to solve it. So we visited Veronica Beard, Cockroach Labs, Warby Parker, Blackstone, NBC, New York Stock Exchange, and Sony. We also went to a Broadway show. We went to a Brooklyn Nets game. And here's just sort of a sampling of our students kind of like all up in it, doing their thing, talking to the different companies. And it was really neat for us to travel to New York. It's no, secret. We are right in Silicon Valley here at UC Berkeley, which is like one of the most thriving entrepreneurial ecosystems. But it's really fun to dip into the other coast to see what's going on in New York. And so we had a great time. It was really super fun to be with the students. We were so proud. They got up in front of like all the executives at these organizations and like listed all of their project suggestions. And it was just like really an amazing moment. The other thing that's really great is that in New York at the Capstone, we had an alumni event that happened on Thursday night, and we had close to 20 alumni that were in the area that were engaging with our current students. And so it was just like everybody getting to meet each other, and it was just a great time. So that's something that we did in our immersive. And I believe that Jagreed is going to go ahead and talk about your application and all that kind of good stuff.
Yes, thank you so much, Chris, for all of that info. As like a super quick summary, as you guys can see, there's 8 academic tracks that MET offers, which have been listed earlier on, and you got a sense of our overall outcomes for MET students, what some of our current students are up to, and some of the programming that MET provides, including those employer meet and greets, the Entrepreneurial Fellows Program, and the Capstone Immersive. To learn more about the Entrepreneurial Fellows Program in general, if y'all are interested, it's on our website, so I definitely recommend checking that out. But going into what we actually look for, which I'm sure that a lot of you are keen to learn more about, my first piece of advice would just be becoming familiar with UC Berkeley's selection process, as they and we use a holistic admission process. So you can actually learn more about the minimum requirements for admission on UC Berkeley's website. I'm going to drop a link right now so that y'all can bookmark that and check it out. But some that will really outline, for example, GPA requirements, how to fulfill that A through G guide that you need to hit in order to apply to a UC. And it talks about all of the other things that we look at besides your GPA and your courses, which includes how many college preparatory classes that you're taking, advanced placement classes. There might be international folks on here, so there's IB courses, honors, and transferable college courses that we're looking for. And overall, just trying to get a sense of your level of achievement, not just in those courses, but in extracurriculars that you're taking part in. So, yeah. But I want to talk a little bit more about these 4 pillars on the screen in terms of just what we're looking for in applicants that are specifically applying to MET. So the first one would be academic excellence, and that is like an of course. We're looking for demonstrated sustained academic achievement in the advanced curriculum available to you. And I really want to highlight that available to you part. So one thing I would say for all of you guys is that a question I get a lot is, do I have to take physics or do I have to take calculus in order to be admitted to MET? My answer would be that if you have that available to you, it will really help strengthen your application and exemplify your aptitude for math and science. However, we definitely know and understand the context that everyone's applying from, and physics and calculus isn't always available. So, really just taking advantage of the honors, AP, or college courses that you do have access to is a great way to show MET, not just that you're super smart and great at math and science, but that you have that love of learning and you're trying to seek out those opportunities to learn more and more. Another thing that we look for is leadership. So, leadership initiatives, so meaningful involvement in your school, family, or community. When we're thinking about the actual UC application and where you can really show leadership, the first thing that comes to my mind is in the extracurriculars that you're reporting. And to talk a little bit about that, when you're filling out your extracurricular activities for your UC application, I definitely want y'all to focus on the overall breadth of what you're reporting. So don't just say what club that you were a part of, but what your particular role actually was. If it changed over time from when you joined the club in ninth grade to where you are at now, nearly graduating. That would be a great thing to detail to really show that leadership piece. as well as the personal insight questions, and then, of course, the supplemental application for MET, which I'll get into. I also want to note that leadership can look a lot of different ways, right? It doesn't always mean that you were the leader of a club at your school. While it can look like that, it might also look like stepping in for family whenever they needed help, or just really making sure that you went out of your way to be a part of the communities that, again, were available to you. So, leadership is definitely a big piece that we look for. The next one is emotional quotient, and that really just means the capacity to understand and manage emotions in positive ways to relieve stress, communicate, and build relationships with others. MET is an amazing program, and as you can imagine, while you're getting 2 degrees from the College of Engineering and the Haas School of Business, lots of stresses pop up. We're building a cohort together. So we are really looking for folks that are able to demonstrate resilience, concern for others and the community, and overall just want to really get that communication piece down. If you're on this call and you're like, these are all areas that I really feel like I can develop, I don't want that to discourage you, because that desire to be better in this area is also something that we are looking for. And finally, tech skills and entrepreneurial interests. This might be a given, but to talk about it a little bit more, we're looking for a combined strength and aptitude in math and science, as well as that ability to communicate interest in entrepreneurship. A good question to ask yourself if you're seriously thinking about applying to MET is, when you're rereading your UC application, do you feel like you sound like an engineer, or do you feel like you sound like an entrepreneur, or both, right? So you really want to get your interest in entrepreneurship across, whether that's like you took stats, or maybe you participated in some business clubs, or maybe you're just a really innovative thinker, and you like to think outside of the box, and you feel like this program is a great opportunity for you to pursue that further. Those would all be ways to signal and highlight those tech skills, which we can sometimes see from the transcript and GPA, as well as extracurriculars, but also that entrepreneurial interests aspect, because you are applying to a dual degree program when you select MET, right? You're not just applying to the engineering program, so definitely think about that whole picture. Jumping into our next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about the supplemental application. So, all applicants to MET must submit a supplemental application in addition to their UC application to be considered for admission to the program. Now, one thing I want to note right off the bat is it's not going to hurt you to apply to MET. If you're applying to MET and you feel like you're more tech strong, if we find that MET isn't the right fit at this time, your application will still be fully considered by the College of Engineering. And in addition, if you select an MET major on your application, but don't move forward with fulfilling the supplemental application, your application will still be considered by the College of Engineering. However, if you want access to these MET specific events, the one-on-one academic advising, career counseling, you do need to complete the supplemental application to be considered for MET in particular. How to apply, you're going to see a timeline on the one side of this slide. So you would want to select one of our 8 academic tracks as your major on your UC Berkeley application. So that would be selecting anywhere from aerospace engineering plus business to EECS plus business to industrial engineering plus business on your UC app. You'll see those majors listed under the Haas School of Business on your UC Berkeley app and the College of Engineering. So you'll see them in both places. Doesn't change where your application goes. And then once you submit your UC Berkeley application by December 1st, you will receive an application acknowledgement email from UC Berkeley. In that email, it will say, thanks for applying to MET. You have to activate your Map at Berkeley portal to begin working on your supplemental application. So in that app acknowledgement email, it'll link you to this other portal. That's where you're actually going to complete your application to be considered for admission to MET. This year, the MET supplemental application is due by 11:59 p.m. Pacific time on December 14th. So I'm going to go into the supplemental essay prompts and the video essay themes in a second, but one thing I definitely want to note is that as early as you can, I would become familiar with that portal so that you don't run into any last minute tech issues. I would make sure that you're writing your supplemental essay in a word processor so that you don't randomly lose it when you go into the portal. It's really, and I also recommend submitting it not the night of if you can help it, because we do get a lot of asks about, hey, like I couldn't submit it in time or I did it the minute before and it timed out. So just to prevent a lot of that, I would highly recommend getting into the portal as soon as you can, to start developing those materials. Now, going into the supplemental essay prompts, you are able to choose one of two prompts to respond to. We have no preference for which prompt you choose. They're both given equal weight in the admissions process. So you can either respond to A, share with us the world you come from. For example, your family, school, community, city, or town. What unique experiences from your world motivated you to apply to this business and engineering dual degree program? So again, for both prompts, this is really your opportunity to tell us why MET, why not just engineering or why not pure business. These supplemental essay prompts are also on the MET website, just so y'all know. So this is not your last opportunity before you apply to see them. The other prompt that you can choose is describe an experience that required you to combine an engineering mindset with a business perspective. How did adapting to setbacks in this experience shape your leadership and resilience? So you're going to be choosing one of those two prompts to respond to. This is a written essay that you will be filling out in that map at Berkeley portal, and it's going to be a maximum of 350 words. So it is quite brief. Again, what we're really looking for is that YMET piece. For the video essay questions, we're not actually posting the questions on our website. You'll find those in your portal after you apply, or after you submit your UC app. But for overall themes that you can think about to prepare beforehand, we are focusing on perspective. So really thinking about moments where your perspective on things shifted or changed, thoughts that you had about a community, maybe thoughts that you had about how the world works, really focusing on times in your life where your perspective shifted or you learned something. Another key theme that we're going to be asking about is your problem solving abilities. So think about times where you had to really kick your critical thinking into overdrive and maybe pivot, as well as resilience. So we're really looking for students to talk a little bit more about their ability to get back up, when they've been kicked down. And so the questions that you will be answering will be, again, focusing on these three themes. So I would kind of meditate upon these more generally, knowing that you'll get the exact questions when you actually submit your UC app and get access to that map at Berkeley portal. So that's a lot of logistics. Hopefully, y'all can marinate in it. Like I said, this is recorded, so you'll be able to go back and watch this again. However, I'm actually going to pass it off to current students in the program because they are going to be the most helpful to learn from. And we'll start off with introductions. We can start with Cindy if you can unmute. I'll be also dropping their LinkedIns in the chat.
Great. Thank you. So my name is Cindy. I'm currently a senior studying mechanical engineering and business. Um, yeah, and thank you all for attending this event. I'll share more about myself later in the progressions.
Cindy,
Yeah.
share now. Come on, you
Oh
go.
shit.
Yeah, you can tell us a
Okay.
bit about you now. Yeah.
Let's
Oh,
go.
sounds good. So I'm very into aviation. So I've built many things related to VTOL. It stands for vertical takeoff and landing vehicles. And for example, actually designed and built a human carrying one, and it passed test flight during my time at Berkeley. So that was super cool. And I also co-founded VTOL at Berkeley. It's a club that's here on campus. I think also still running right now. And in terms of career, I interned at NextFlex. It's a company that does research in flexible hybrid electronics, as well as General Motors in my sophomore year and SpaceX in my junior year. Cool.
Thanks, Cindy. Pass it off to Patrick.
Hi, my name is Patrick. I'm a civil engineering and business double major, and I'm a sophomore. I a little bit about me. I really love like construction, building things. It started with just Legos and little building blocks as a kid, and it's transformed into the construction industry and going out and building real projects. And that's a big part of why I chose civil. If any of you are choosing civil, please reach out, talk to me. There's not a big civil population in MET. There's a small group of us, but we're a really close-knit group. And I also love to yap. I was born to talk. So if you want to reach out to me on LinkedIn, send me a message. I think Jagreet dropped my link in the chat. So thanks, Jagreet and Chris, for putting this together, and nice to meet you all.
Thank you, Patrick. Milan let me know that he'll be running a few minutes late, so we'll pass it off to Irfan.
Hey everybody, hope everybody's doing well. This has been wonderful so much so far. So currently I'm an EEC student. I actually came into the program undecided. I ended up declaring EECs, and the reason for that is that I'm a big finance guy, and I thought like, hey, how am I supposed to integrate the engineering side into finance? And I thought that the best approach was to do the CS world. It's been pretty wonderful for me. So I currently have a startup where I focus on implementing options trading strategies for wealth managers. And that's kind of like my big thing is like, hey, how do we use AI and these new innovations in tech in the finance world? But outside of that, I love to snowboard, I love to surf, and I'm excited to meet you guys and have some conversations.
Thank you so much. We're gonna ask the student panel some questions, so y'all can jump in as you feel so behooved to do. But the first question for the student panel is, what does a typical week look like in terms of classes and homework? How do you balance the rigorous demands of both Haas and the College of Engineering?
Do you want us to just like jump in or do you
Yep.
want to?
Yeah, totally. You can totally just jump in. So if you
Cool.
want to
I
go,
was
yeah.
unmuted, so I might as well go first. So kind of like what the breakdown is that obviously you will have your classes and they'll be significantly harder than you'll expect. And I'm sure all you guys in high school and are like, hey, these APs are hard. These classes are harder. So brace yourself for that. But I will say like the important thing of college is that you shouldn't get boggled down by all these classes. You have a lot of opportunities to do things outside of that. I told you I'm in a startup and I spend a lot of my time working on my startup, if I'm being completely honest. I'm also in a couple of clubs, and although they're like consulting clubs and you're supposed to be working in them, it's a great opportunity to still socialize. So I will say, like, of course, there is these hard classes, but of course, you should be trying to find ways to reduce that workload by working with friends and just taking an approach of like, hey, how am I supposed to meet my long-term goals, but not just focusing necessarily on classes. So I guess that's kind of like my approach.
Thanks so much. Cindy, anything to add?
Yeah, and from a Mechie perspective, we have a lot of technical classes to take comparing to the average EECS majors. So I actually usually takes about 3 or 4 tech classes and about 2 business majors per semester, which is definitely a lot of classes comparing to someone who's not in a dual degree. But I completely agree with what Irfan said. I also spend a lot of time outside of academics. So I do think that you will have to choose your priorities. It's really hard to get enough sleep, get be really social, work on startups, and then get perfect grades all at the same time. So I think know what you really want is pretty important.
Thanks so much, Cindy. And then finally, Patrick, any words of wisdom on a typical week as an MET student?
Yeah, I think Cindy and Irfan got a really good description. I personally like numbers, so the way I think about it is I spend about 50% of my time on classes, usually 35% on clubs, jobs, extracurriculars, whatever I'm doing that semester, and about 20% like socializing, hanging out with friends, going to football games. So it is a lot and it does fill up a lot of your time, but there is still quite a bit of space for socializing as well. In terms of balancing classes, it is hard. This is a difficult program. It is difficult class-wise. If you want to party every day, socialize with your friends 24/7, this maybe isn't the program for you, but there is a balance. I personally have learned a lot of time management skills just being here. Google Calendar has become my best friend. I've learned how to prioritize. You may not be able to complete every assignment, go to every class, attend every lecture, but being able to prioritize, here are the three most important things I need to do today. Being able to prioritize is super valuable and also super valuable in the industry, or even if you're working at a startup, whatever job you go into. So those prioritization and time management skills that I've learned actually from balancing so many classes have been really applicable. That's helped me a lot in my internships as well.
Thank you so much. That's all super duper helpful. And the Google Calendar plug quite literally never hurt anybody in this life. So let's go on to the next one, which is, I think, a big one for why people choose MET. But how has the MET program helped you with internships and career opportunities? For the panel, feel free to dunk on us a little bit. Let us know what you've been, getting into in terms of your internships and upcoming opportunities for careers or current opportunities for careers. We can start with, we want to start back with Irfan since that seems like a good flow.
I would be happy to. So MET is wonderful and they've done so much. I will actually shout out Chris right now. It was during my last summer, so I'm a sophomore. It was last summer. I had already had an internship, but she actually called me and said, "Hey, Bain has a opening that they want people to apply for." If you guys don't know what Bain is, you should, but you will soon. It's like it's like one of the largest consulting firms, and it's like a wonderful opportunity. She said, "Hey, like these people are doing like private recruiting and here like I want you to come apply for it." I was already doing a startup, so I ended up not, following that. But there's opportunities like that that Chris will source. And then on top of that, we did go over it. I know you talked about it a little bit, but I just wanted to show how amazing it is to have a one-on-one career site with just MET students. I told you guys I'm big into finance, and the finance world is pretty competitive. So how that works is it's really just who you know. And the world of private equity, maybe a word a lot of you guys still also don't know, but you will soon. That world is very saturated, and people being able to talk to someone who's working in private equity is a hard thing to do. So they actually brought in Chris and Jagreed and all the other team in MET brought in people from that firm, and I was just able to talk to them. I actually ended up with all their emails, and they reached out to me talking about, hey, this is a couple opportunities that we have. So it's just a great opportunity to talk to people one on one. So two thumbs up and super exciting stuff.
Thank you so much. And let's pass it off to Cindy.
Yeah. So from MET, I actually met a lot of like-minded people to work on like fun projects together, which definitely built up my resume a lot throughout the process and was able to prepare me a lot for the engineering career. So, and apart from that, like the MET other students, they tend to be good co-founders as well. So I actually also worked on some startup projects with them, which was also a lot of fun. And from a more direct standpoint, I received a referral to SpaceX through MET, and I actually ended up interviewing and getting the internship. So I spent my last summer at the Hawthorne location working with the Falcon 9 structures team, which was an awesome experience, and I highly recommend it.
Cool. Thank you. Patrick?
Yeah, I had a slightly different experience than Irfan and Cindy. I didn't have any of these big name companies calling me. But what I did have is I had a really great internship over the summer with a small startup here in Berkeley. They're called Airmine. If you're familiar with Y Combinator, they were YC batch in 2022. And I actually found them through MET. So Chris had brought the COO of Airmine to one of the MET only career fairs. And actually, my internship was funded through the Entrepreneurial Fellows program that Chris mentioned earlier, where MET pays for you to intern with one of these startups. And I just had a fantastic time with them over the summer. I was only planning to come in like hybrid, like 2 days a week. I ended up coming in basically every day, just learning so much on the job. I loved the team I was working with, really great people, like really smart engineers, people with 20, 30 years of experience. And I feel like I wouldn't learn that much in any other internship or any other situation. So that small team startup vibe was really great for me. And actually, just a little plug, I'm in their offices right now. You can see the airmine flag behind me. I'm in their offices right now because we did a site visit today to the project that they're working on, and we were so close, like we worked so well together over the summer that they invited me back to come on the site visit and meet the client. So I just had a really great experience, some connections that I'm going to keep for a very long time, and just learned so much. And all of it was because Chris connected me and because of that EFP program. So I'm deeply thankful to M.E.T for that just fantastic experience.
You guys are the best. I also want to shout out Milan, who just joined the session. Milan, if you feel good to unmute, maybe you can introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and answer the question if you want afterwards.
Sure. So, sorry I'm joining late. I had like a test or whatever. My name's Milan. I'm studying bioengineering and business, and I'm currently a junior. And I will say that the MET programs exposed me to a lot of different sort of worlds that I didn't think could intersect. Before I joined the program, I knew I wanted to do something financy or something biotech. And through the help of the guy who did my yield call, the man who called me and was, hey, congrats on your acceptance to MET, Mark Edelston. I spoke with him, and I'm actually going to be a banking intern in biopharma banking, which I did not even know was a field that you could get a job in until maybe you had done a generalist analyst program. And it's here in the city. So that kind of exposure and that kind of mentorship, I think, is very unique to MET. On the other hand, I think it's also really nice to work at the school. I TA'd the freshman year course, so some of the people here, I worked with them, and that was really nice to sort of give back to the program, but also meet some other faculty members who I might do some research with, maybe on the economics or finance side, and that I would say is also a cool career opportunity slash internship that MET exposed me to.
Thank you so much, y'all. We appreciate it. And we'll go on to the next question for the panel. This is a big one too. Is it possible to have a social life and participate in extracurricular activities while you're in the program? Some of you guys have already talked about this. What clubs or activities are you involved in? But yeah, we'd love to hear from you. You're getting 2 degrees. So is it possible to also have a social life in addition to that? Maybe we can start off with Irfan and go in that same loop. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Sounds good. Is it Short answer, yes, absolutely. I would say it's imperative to have a social life. You can't just sit down and work on stuff all day. It's not what college is about, and it's not what you should expect from your college experience. So specifically like insights on how to do this, I will say that like clubs are professional development. And maybe you'll understand that when you come to Berkeley. Some of the work you do is like, hey, I worked for Coca-Cola, I worked for NBC Peacock, and it was a great way to say like, hey, you did industry work for a big name client. But beyond that, it is a big time social thing where you will have these projects and you will be working with other students. And it's through that, hardship of putting a deck together, looking at the financials that you are technically socializing. So I will say that a lot of times that you are doing like these hard activities that you think are, you know, only for your career, they are forms of socialization. So I would say like try to embrace that. But beyond that, you will still be able to have time to go to parties. You will have all that, good jazz, that college experience that you are looking for. It is just important that you take time and say, hey, I'm going to work for this on this time, and then on the weekend I'm going to have fun. Work hard, play hard. I think is a great mentality. So I think you can balance it. Like, I think it was I forget who said it. I think it was Patrick, but the GCal is a very important thing. Just try to work on time management, and you'll get there.
Thanks so much. Cindy, any insights?
I also think it's very possible, like working on projects with friends, going to class with friends. I think they all count as social life. But personally, I don't prioritize grades as much. Like I don't aim for like a perfect 4.0, so that actually frees up a lot of time for me to do other stuff. So as I said mentioned earlier, you have to choose your own priorities, and it will probably work out for you. Mhm.
Thanks, Cindy. I actually, not to shout you out here, I know you mentioned VTOL a bit earlier, but I know that you play a really big role in that club. So, how much, I don't know, how much of your time does that take up and what does that look like for you?
I think it's hard to quantify how
Quantify.
much time yeah, how much time I spend on a certain club. Um I do think that I enjoy my time when I'm building things with other people, where I'm like hosting these general meetings with a bunch of other engineers. Um I think it's a pretty fun experience, but hard to quantify how much time I spend on it.
Thank you, Cindy.
Yeah, I can go next. I think like if you care about it, socialization can be a really big part of your life at MET. But I think what Cindy said about prioritization is really important. If you want to make time for socialization, you will absolutely have it. I have a ton of like fantastic friends here at Cal. Like just last night, we went to a new milkshake bar near campus that just opened up with like six friends right after a club meeting. So like, yes, we were in this club together, but we also spent some time together outside of it. I put a lot of time into Model UN. It's Model United Nations, if you're not familiar with it. It's like a travel and debate club. It's not really related to my majors. It's something I do mostly for fun. But we travel. I went with them to LA, Philadelphia, Boston last year. I'm going to DC in a few weeks with them. We also have club retreats. A lot of the consulting and business clubs do this as well, where one weekend a semester, you'll either drive out last semester, my club went to Yosemite for 2.5 days, which was super fun. Some of the larger clubs like fly you out different places. I think one club had their retreat in the Bahamas last year. So like these retreats are also a really fun element of like these clubs. So like, yes, like, clubs are pretty
Oh no,
central and
UC's, I'm pretty sure UC's you don't send your, oh, oops, sorry. I didn't mean
oh,
to mute.
all good, all good. Yeah, I guess just socialization is a big part of my life. I have a ton of great friends here, and yeah, you absolutely have time for it.
Thank you, Patrick. And Milan?
Yeah, so I would say it's most definitely possible to have a social life. And again, like Irfan and Patrick said, you should go for it. Um, I took a lot of classes. I probably been at between 20 and 25 units for like all of college. Do a bunch of research. It was up to like 20 hours a week. I said, hey, that's a little too much. So now it's about 15 hours a week on research, between recruitment and other stuff. There's a lot of time. What I think is a big part of the fact that I can spend, like last night I went with my friends. We went to Oakland. We tried up some like on the road food. We went camping last semester. We're planning to go camping and bike packing again this semester. I think a big part of it is removing those sort of idle hours that you see yourself scrolling on the phone or just doing nothing and replacing that with something maybe more impactful to you. I think delete social media off my phone. I had like 2 hours I could spend with friends, just like that. So I think definitely if you prioritize it and you're disciplined about it, it's more than possible. And sometimes you just won't focus on schoolwork, you'll focus on friends, and it's okay. You can just focus on schoolwork in the next week.
Thank you so much. That's great. Thank y'all.
Hey,
All
Milan,
right.
really quick. Can you maybe talk a little bit about the two different classes, just because you were a TA and all that good stuff? We've got City who's asking that question. City, I'd love to see you on camera asking the question. I think Milan's going to answer that for you.
Yeah, so we have two classes. One is a sort of freshman year intro to business as a whole, and then one of the junior course, which I'm currently taking, is more of an intro to entrepreneurship. At their core, they both deal with innovation. So the freshman year course, which will actually from now on, hopefully, always be a TA from MET. So you kind of get that level of upper class connection as well, is going to focus mainly on how innovation works, factors driving innovation, and how sort of new products are able to get out there, why we have iPhones, why we have calculators, why the cars look like this year, what are the driving forces behind that. And I think that's great because you get this comprehensive view that people are getting in their upper division classes, except you're sitting there as a sophomore and you're like, okay, I got this. and everyone else is trying to figure it out. You'll be some like source of knowledge. And then the junior year course, you kind of tie everything up from what I've seen and spend a lot of time developing a sort of startup idea, which you pitch to judges. And it's kind of a nice full circle moment where you get to see sort of your technical side and your business side come together. I really enjoyed both classes, and I I think they're a big value of the academic program at MET for sure.
Thank you all so much. All right. For our folks on the panel, you might have to dive into your memory, depending upon what class you are, about what the application process was like for you. But our last question for the panel is, what was your mindset when writing the MET supplemental essay? And how did you approach the video essay? Any general tips that you have to share, insights on what that process was like for you, I think would be super helpful for our participants or people joining today.
I can go first again.
Thank you.
So I think the best approach is actually taking one step further back, in terms of like the whole application as a whole. It can never be the case that this is the first time where you're marrying the idea of business with engineering. It just can't be like you won't get it. Like I think in the rest of your application you really have to bring that together. And the other four, I think it's four other prompts you're allowed to answer to. I think you should be answering that. And I know I was a little afraid like when I first applied, because I know it goes to other UCs as well, is that like, hey, is it going to be too obvious that I'm applying to MET, and the other schools will reject me? Like I ended up getting to all the UCs, so like I wouldn't be afraid of that. Like I would say that you absolutely should include it. And I do remember that like in one of my actual essays, I was like the specific words of like I'm really interested in engineering and business or something like that in the other essays as well. So I would say that you also have to marry that idea in the other essays that you write. And then specifically when it comes to the supplemental essays, obviously you should be thinking about it as you were writing your four other essays. Like, hey, this is some of the information that I'm gonna keep in my back pocket to then present it in this. And I know you have two choices, so obviously choose which one of those you want before, writing your other four essays so that you have something in your back pocket you can write. And then when it comes to the video essay, I would say like this is your one time to like bring out your personable side. Try to maybe crack a joke in there if you can, smile, speak the best that you can. And I would say that, you can do a couple mock interviews. I wouldn't suggest your mom, maybe one of your friends that is a little bit more critical. Do a couple, what we call, they're called high reviews in like industry. You can go on YouTube and search up like, hey, how do I best practice for a high review? Try to wear something nice. I think it's, one of those things where it's the small things that add up. So that's my 2 cents.
Right? And for me, applying was a long time ago because I'm a senior now, and I think I had different prompt than what you guys are given right now. And at the time, we also didn't get to choose a second major. So I'll just talk about my personal experience, what I remember, of course. I remember I had a very clear goal, like a really clear problem that I wanted to solve before coming to college. So I wrote really clearly about it and why MET will probably allow me to gain the skills to solve that problem. So maybe it helped, maybe. But of course my goal like changed now, but it doesn't matter. So things can pivot. And in terms of like the video essay, I was never really a great speaker, so what I did was I Googled like all kinds of different questions I'm potentially gonna get, and I listed out the things I've done in the past to talk about. So during the actual video essay interview, I I basically have a lot of examples of different things I'm able to recall very quickly to talk about, depending on what prompt I was given. And I don't remember the prompt anymore. But yeah, those are my experience.
Thanks, Cindy.
Or maybe a little bit different advice than Irfan and Cindy. I think Irfan and Cindy hit some of the like, technical points, like here's what you want to get in there. Personally, the way I answered my supplemental essay is like I focused on what was unique to me. So Chris has this really nice term that she uses, which is like your X factor. Like what makes you special? What is your conversation starter? What is the thing you do for fun that nobody else is crazy enough to do? And like talk about that. Um, because it's what makes you unique, especially in a pool of so many applicants. Like you see, I think about 60 people on this call and a lot more applying among so many people, like having something you're really passionate about that's really unique about you will stand out. So I remember like my essay, I polished like this really nice wording and then rewrote it like the night before the deadline. I do not recommend it. That was a very stressful evening for me. Do not do what I did. But I do remember that, what came out was a lot more genuine and a lot more unique than the original polished essay that I wrote. And that's not to say like don't polish your essays, but just like to talk about something unique. I also remember that in my video, contrary to what Irfan said about wearing something nice, I wore a hot pink shirt, like the brightest pink you've ever seen. And Chris remembered me from that when I showed up on I think either the admit day. She was like, "Oh, you're the pink shirt guy." So it's like, there are little things that you can do to stand out, be unique, be memorable, and I feel like that really helped me. So yeah, a little bit different advice from what the others shared, but that's just how I treated mine.
More than anything, just be yourself, be authentic, be vulnerable. Just like there's no formula. We're just looking for like, you know, just great people that are going to make our community better. And all of you guys are good enough. It's a competitive world out there getting into college now. I don't envy anybody. The MET program is a great option. There are a million colleges out there. I want to make sure everybody understands that where you end up is where you're supposed to be. I wish you so much luck in this process and spend some time like getting through this. I would hope that you would have your application in before Thanksgiving break so you can actually enjoy the week with your family rather than stressing on this because it's not going to go away. Just get it over with, but you will end up where you're supposed to be. Just like take it in bite-sized chunks when you're getting ready to like do your application. So it can be overwhelming for your family and for you. And I just want to encourage you just to like put the time in now the best that you can and just be done with it. So yeah, I think we're going to open it up to questions. So if anybody has any, turn your camera on, raise your hand. And is it Steven? Stefan? Wrong?
Yeah. Hey, it's
Hi.
Steven, and I want to thank all of you for taking the time out of the day to participate in this. It's been really
Sure.
helpful. I had a question sort of focused on the students actually, and what was one surprise that you guys had like coming into MNT that you guys sort of didn't expect before the program?